Hello. Welcome to Media Queen TV. This is our 5th episode for 2026, and we're going to be chatting today about how to unlock the next you. We have a very special guest with us. The amazing Mitch Bruger is with us from the Advanced Group. A little bit about Mitch before we chat with him today about this topic. Now, Mitch Bruger is the Chief Marketing Officer of the Advanced Group, a multifaceted service provider in construction support services, in facilities management and high-end commercial landscaping. He's the director of Site Smart Australia, and his legacy project is Shifting Forward, a personal development platform built for people who are ready to meet life's shifts with clarity and momentum. He is also the author of the Maven Method, a practical system that rewires the subconscious mind to turn dreams into measurable reality. And today he is going to be showing us how business strategy and personal transformation work together to help you find your next you. Welcome to the show, Mitch.
Thank you very much, Aldwyn. That was quite the build-up.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad you took great care to pronounce the word shifts correctly.
Yes. Exactly. Although some people might get the shits through this because it might bring up a few things for them as we go through the show. So welcome wherever our live viewers are joining us right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Hello. Welcome aboard. We do like to make this show interactive. So if you have any comments or thoughts as we're going along through the show, please pop them into the comments or questions and we'll come to those through the show. All right. So, wow, it's quite a few things you do there, Mitch, and quite a diverse mix of things you do too. So tell us a bit about your background and how you came to Advanced Group firstly, and then how you sort of, went into your personal development as well.
Wow, big story. I'll try and keep it as brief as I can. I was a mechanic before 2004. In 2000, I joined a barbershop chorus, an a cappella harmony singing chorus, and one of my friends in that chorus had Advanced National Services at the time, and Advanced National Services was a company that did commercial cleaning and shopping trolley collections. And Ed approached me one day, and we had a conversation about me because I didn't want to be a mechanic anymore. When I turned 40, I didn't want to be up to my elbows in dirt and grease and spanners. And he was looking to expand the portfolio of Advanced into something as an expansion method. And temporary fencing was the vehicle that we chose. I set up the temporary fencing company, and then added Advanced Environmental Services to it not long after that because it was a similar need going at the same time as the temporary fencing goes in. After that, that became quite large, and we ended up starting on the NBN rollout. So we launched Advanced Network Services to install the pit and pipe and the cabling, the fiber optic cables and splicing and all of that stuff that was the NBN rollout, the national NBN rollout. And then off the back of that, we formed Advanced Landscaping. And this is all a very abridged version of it. There was a whole bunch of things that happened along the flow, which I can tell you the whole story if you like, but we're going to run out of time. And off the back of that, we then formed Advanced Event Services. And Event Services does large-scale concerts and footy games up in Brisbane, water barriers, and crowd control barriers and various other event services for councils and for major sporting organisations. So that's the Advanced Group. Site Smart Australia was formed not long after the temporary fencing company was formed because I saw a need I saw an opportunity to be able to sell the advertising space on the temporary fencing. If you've got a 200-metre fence along a major road that's got an arterial road that's got 50, 80, 100,000 cars a day passing it, you've essentially got a giant billboard there that's vacant. So I thought if I could sell the advertising space on there and put banners and signage and stuff onto that fencing, that would be a good place to start. So Site Smart Australia was formed off that. That's now in its 20th year of trading this year.
Wow.
And the whole way along, the whole entrepreneurship bug, as you might imagine, kind of got me. In the early days, it was just setting up a business, And then the concept of getting into business and starting other businesses and growing things and employing people and making my life and the people around me's life a bigger and better life, had some nuance about it that gave me the idea that there's people out there that build huge businesses or even small businesses, but they're building something out of nothing. So that concept of building something out of nothing has sat in my mind and stewed around, and over time it's become a methodology by which to shift things, which is where shifting forward comes in. Shifting forward is essentially about people moving from one place in their life to another, whether it's a health issue, whether it's a relationship-based thing, it might be business, could be career. Everybody's got something that they want to get better at, that they want to improve, or that they want to start doing. They might be an employee, have been an employee all their life, but deep down they've got a passion for flower arranging or whatever it might be, whatever their thing is that they want to do. And they would love to have a floral business one day, but they've got no clue how to do it. And there's a whole bunch of people out there who know how to do that. And connecting those people with the people who want to improve themselves is what Shifting Forward's all about. That's what the platform is for.
Wow, love that. Such a diverse history. Amazing. And of course, as entrepreneurs, it is very important if you're going to survive as an entrepreneur and you're going to keep going past 5 years, as 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years, they say, and then 80% of those that survive fail in the next 5 years. So the fact that you've been in business for 20 years, you've obviously had some resilience about you, and you've obviously done a lot of personal development yourself. And this is something that I believe never stops. You know, we never learn less. You know, personally, I've invested over $1 million in my business and personal development, and I continue to invest. And that's over the last 20 years. And I've been in business since 2002. So it's 24 years I've been in business, and I absolutely love it. And I think as an entrepreneur, you have to have that resilience, because we're either green and growing or we're ripe and rotting, right? We're generally not just sitting on the fence, or we'll get a sore bum if you sit on the fence. So generally we're either moving forward or we're moving backwards. And actually having a consciousness around that, I think, is ultra important, because you know, a lot of people sort of operate in fight or flight, or they're in anxiety or stress, and they're often not conscious to how they're operating through life. And so I believe the personal development part is absolutely crucial for any business person. And in fact, anyone out there at all who wants to live a great life, you have to have some self-awareness and some self-love and some self-care and some self-consciousness, I believe, to really make the most of life. So for yourself, Mitch, what are some of the challenges that you've gone through, and how has personal development helped you?
I, like you, have spent a lot of money, a lot of time over the years going to conferences and courses and learning things and improving and reading books. And I haven't actually put a calculator to it and added up a figure. And I'm sure it's probably not $1 million, but it's getting up there.
Yes.
But there is also a lot of stuff that I've learned for free, essentially. And when I say free, it's just the lessons that life brings along. It's things that you come across in life and things that you see. You have two choices when you experience things in life. And number one is you can just see it and let it go by. And then the second choice is you can see it, ponder it, think about it, understand what's actually happened, what's behind it, what's underside of it, and how you can use that to improve your own life in some way moving forward. A good example for that might be that back in showing my age here, mid-90s, sometime early to mid-90s, my wife and I went up to Brisbane and saw a guy called Robert Kiyosaki, who I'm sure most people know from his books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the series that came after that. And he was a stage speaker, and he was talking about all kinds of stuff. And one story that he related, and storytelling is a big part of it. But this one story that he related was that he was a chopper pilot in Vietnam in the war, and the ceasefire had been declared, and he was sitting on the beach at China Beach with another couple of pilots, and they had their choppers parked up behind them. And they were pondering their future. The war's over. We're going back stateside. What do we do now? What happens now? Who are we now? And he had seen these two local kids running around, and he whistled them up and gave them 50 cents each to go into town, because in the marketplace he'd seen these woven wicker baskets. gave them 50 cents American each to go and buy these baskets, one basket each, and bring them back to the beach. Then he asked them to go up and down the beach and collect spent shells and shrapnel and bits of debris that was just littered all over the beach into these baskets, and then drag them up the beach. And he paid them another 50 cents each to put them into the chopper. And the other pilots gave him a hand. He went and started up his chopper and flew out, and off the coast were 30 battleships that were out there, each one with a couple of thousand soldiers on board who were all going home. And he's selling souvenirs for cash, for American dollars. And he flew back to the beach again, and he's got bulging out of his pockets as American dollars everywhere. And the look on the faces of the other two pilots was similar to the look on your face right now. It's a little bit stunned that someone would have the gall and the audacity to do that. But the moral of the story was that opportunities roll past us every single day of our lives. And some people see those opportunities and walk past them. Some people grab them, kick them around a bit and leave them anyway. And other people grab them and do something with them. And it's those who actually pick up the opportunity and do something with it that move forward. They're the ones that shift forward in their life. And that smacked me between the eyeballs when I saw that, because at the time, as I said, I was a mechanic. I was in overalls all day, every day. I was under bonnets of cars and covered in crap and just living a reasonably good life. I was managing a workshop. It was a good wage. And I was going home, and the mortgage was being paid, and there was bread and butter on the table, and everything was okay. But I decided that I wanted more out of life. I only had one shot at this life. We all only have one shot at this life. Why would I continue to do the same thing day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out, and not really make anything of myself? So that was really one of the turning points for me, was that that day, that experience of having that light bulb moment come on, that opportunity is everywhere. Just got to look for it. And then when you do find it, grab it, do something with it.
And sometimes I think the biggest opportunities happen through our biggest challenges. And I do believe everything happens for us, not to us. This is a belief that I've taken on over the last few years. And it's interesting because I know during my life, during some of my biggest challenges, where I've had, a few near-death experiences, I've had friends turn against me, I've been ripped off, I've had all these things happen. And at the time when you're in these things, when you're in these situations, it can feel like, why the hell is this happening? What the hell is going on here? And it can be really depressing and really degrading and really, really, really challenging. And they say, great breakthroughs happen at the end of the breakdowns. But when we're in it, we often don't see it. So I look back at many of the situations in my life where I've had really big challenges, and I can look back now and look for things that I can be grateful for in those situations, because they help me become stronger in certain ways. They help me take the next step, which took me away from a step that I'd previously thought I was going to take. They say we make plans and God laughs, right? That's another great saying. We make plans and God laughs. So, I always say now, be committed, not attached. Be committed to what you want, not attached to what that will look like, because anything can change at any moment. Life is so unpredictable in so many ways. And opportunity, yes, opportunity is everywhere. However, I believe we need to actually be open to the opportunities. And many people, I think, out there are closed to opportunities, probably like the 80-20 rule. I'd say 80% of people are, very much sort of channel thinking. They're in survival mode. They're, doing their 9-to-5 jobs and, can't wait till Friday and dread Monday. And, as entrepreneurs, generally most entrepreneurs I know love their lives, and they live a life by design. However, there's others too that can get very trapped in their business or their busyness of their business and not enjoy the journey as well. So this is very interesting. I notice with entrepreneurs, some entrepreneurs are very, very focused on the money, and sometimes at the expense of everything else. They're just so focused on the money that they're actually not having a great experience of life sometimes. The thing is, you can have a lot of money and have a great life at the same time. Although a lot of people do, generally, they spend their health to get their wealth, and then later in life, they'll spend their wealth to get their health back. So I believe having a balanced life is really, really important. And I love your topic today, how to unlock the next you, because for those tuning in, thank you so much for joining us. Let us know where you're from. I can see some people hopping in here. Let us know where you're from. And do you have any questions for Mitch as we're going through this? How to unlock the next you. So what does that mean to you, Mitch?
Unlocking the next you is an integral part of all of us, because despite common belief, we actually have the next you within us already. And by the next you, I mean the person that you have the potential to be. We all have that within us regardless. It's already there. It just needs to be unlocked. It needs to be found. You need to, first of all, establish what it is and who you would like to become, what you would like to do, and then find the roadmap of how to get there. And we'll get into that a little bit later in detail. If I can just hark back to something you just said before, that people have this, some people have this railroad that they're on, and that's their life. And a large part of that, even though it seems infinitesimal, is the words and the language that they use. So if you're in a networking situation, or if you're in a business situation, you ask somebody, you're introduced to them and you ask them about their business, what they do. They'll often say, "I'm a plumber," or "I'm a lawyer," or I'm a X, add in whatever the profession is. And in doing that and saying "I am a," that actually connects you to that, and it's irreversible. You can't extract yourself from that. If you instead say, "I provide plumbing services," or "I provide legal aid," or whatever it might be, then it's a person saying what they can help with, what they can provide. It's not saying that they are that. Because once you do that, the risk in that, and it's a very real risk, is if that changes one day, and it often does in careers, when you come out the other side of it, if I'm a lawyer and something happens and I'm no longer a lawyer, well, I've always been a lawyer. If I'm not a lawyer now, then what am I? And you set yourself up for an existential crisis, a personality crisis, because you've identified with your profession and you've cast yourself in that role. And then when you're not that anymore, well, what am I now? And that's a very real risk in doing that. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but it is something that I want to touch on. Nuance, it's small.
It's fascinating, though, just that slight tweak of I am, like I have said to people in the past, I am a photojournalist. I do marketing, I mean, I provide, as you say, I provide marketing services. Yeah, that's slight, because I am also a speaker as well, or I guess I provide speaking services as well. That's kind of, it becomes very much a part of your identity, I think, when you say I am something. And so that's when people retire, they suddenly lose themselves, because they've always known themselves so intrinsically linked to what they do that they're suddenly at a loss with what to do now, as you say. And
but that power that's in that's also of benefit. So you just said just then, I'm a speaker. There is nothing stopping you from being a speaker. So if you identify as a speaker, if you get on stages and you speak to people, you can do that when you're 96. That's not something that you're going to grow out of. It's not something you're going to get fired from, or you sell the business or whatever. Once you are a speaker, you are a speaker. So it can also have its power, and that's self-empowering by using that language. If it is something that you become. I am a musician. Before I could play guitar and sing songs and entertain a crowd, I wasn't a musician. Now I am a musician, and I will be a musician for the rest of my life. Whether I'm actively playing music or not, I'm not. I am a musician. Can you see the difference that I'm trying to get at there?
Yes, it's fascinating how we identify ourselves and how we position ourselves, because I also say, well, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and there's a lot of power in mirror exercises when you're building your self-esteem, by saying, I am loving, I am kind, I am beautiful, I am intelligent, I am, there's ways of being, and then there's latching onto a certain profession, that if that profession just crumbles away before your eyes, and particularly for those who are in jobs, or they say, just over broke job, for those who are in jobs that are at the beg and call of other people, I guess, at the mercy of other people, and not living their own and some people love being in jobs. They don't want to have their own business. And for some people in business, they may as well have a job because they're not really doing that great in business and maybe working 80 hours a week for less than they'll work, and earn working for someone else. So that's all
Yeah. And the weight of the world on their shoulders.
Yes, yes. And that's all about, choices around how do you want to live your life?
Yeah.
How do you live your life? And do you really enjoy what you're doing? Whether you're in a job or whether you've got your own business and you're an entrepreneur or whether you're on the dole, whatever it is for you, what does the next you look like? Or are you happy in comfort zone? Are you comfortable in your comfort zone where you are now? And do you not want to make any shifts in your life? This is all a choice.
Yeah, it is. And if you don't, that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm addressing many, many people out there who do want to do something different, who do want to shift in their life. They just don't know how to do it. And that's where the directory that is attached to Shifting Forward comes in. There's coaches all over the world that can help you become what you want to become. We were just talking about being laid off from a job before. One of our coaches is over in Newark in New Jersey. His name's Richard Taliaferro, and Richard was with the Wall Street Journal for 25 years. And just one Tuesday morning, same as every other Tuesday morning, got called into the office, and that's it. He was gone. And he went through a crisis, but some years beforehand, he'd done a coaching course, a personal coaching course, and he's now swiveled, and that's become his life now, is coaching people who are leaving media into what their skill set is for something else, what they want to do. So that's a perfect example of shifting forward right there. His skill set is he's a very good listener, and he has this ability to get into the background of what people want to do and utilize the skills that they have from what they were doing. And in media, you would know yourself, Aldwyn, that in media you have a core set of skills and then a whole bunch of nuanced skills that you develop around the outside, or whether it's talking to someone in a podcast situation here, or live on mainstream TV, or on a radio, or in an article writing about someone. You have certain skills around wordsmithing and around being able to get what the audience wants to hear out of the person that you're speaking to or the group that you're speaking to. That's a very important skill set, but that can be leveraged into other careers or other businesses, and that's what Richard specializes in.
Yes, and I'm sure we all have certain skills that we have fine-tuned over time, and I'm sure we weren't all like this from birth. At birth, we come in, we're open to whatever possibilities are out there, and then over the years, I guess we develop an interest in certain things, and they say that often we teach what we most need to learn. And interestingly, as a child, for example, I was bullied as a kid. I felt invisible. I had invisible friends. I didn't want to be on the planet for a long time. Grew up with a lot of negative news, ended up depressed, self-destructive for a long time. And now I've turned that completely around with a whole lot of turning points that happened in my life where I thought to myself, I don't want to live like this anymore. I actually do want to make the most of my life. And it came with that choice, with making that decision that, no, I don't want to live a miserable life. I actually do want to make the most of my life. And then doing a lot of personal development, a lot of courses with a lot of different people, and hanging out with like-minded, amazing people. And of course, we know each other through the BX network. And hello to our BX friends out there. BX networking, fantastic networking group of like-minded entrepreneurs who are positive, who are supportive, having a great environment of people around you, having great mentors around you. And some of my mentors haven't been that great, admittedly. And yes, I've been ripped off and all sorts of things have happened along that journey. However, I've stayed on the roller coaster ride of life, as you have, obviously, Mitch. The fact that we're here speaking right now means we've both stayed on the roller coaster ride of life. We haven't hopped off the roller coaster ride of life. And we've looked at how can we turn our experiences that we've had into what we're doing now. So for now, I help people be seen, heard, and known, right? For a long time, I didn't feel seen, heard, and known. And that's been a skill that I've developed for a long time over working in the media, of building my skills in this social media landscape too. I mean, when I started in the media, there was no social media. Facebook only started in 2004. I'm from the traditional media days of being a journalist with, TV, radio, print. Things have changed so rapidly now. And so if we don't move with the times, we are going to get left behind. As simple as that.
That's true. Yeah. And the times are undergoing a significant shift again now. And that's
Mm.
creating huge opportunities right around the world, again, for those who adopt them. Obviously, I'm talking
Yes.
about AI and some of the developments that have happened in the past couple of
Oh,
years.
AI, it's insane now what you can do with AI. I think about the early days when digital photography came in. Now, I learned in the film photography days, I learned how to do photography. We had dark rooms. I did a media degree in Canberra, and we used to sandwich negatives together and do all these creative things. And then Photoshop came about, and then so much, and then
Mind
digital.
blown.
Mind blowing. And then the digital photography, digital cameras came out. In the early days of digital cameras, you'd take a photo and it'd be like a 1 second delay and you'd miss the shot, right? But
Yeah,
it'd be really annoying in the early days of digital photography. But look at it now, right? Look at it now. I don't think there's many people out there anymore that use film cameras anymore. It is extraordinary what you can do with digital photography. And
yeah,
I must say, initially I resisted it. I was like, no, digital photography is not going to be as good as film photography. The skin tones are better with film photography, etc., etc. But
yeah,
this is like the early days of AI that we've seen. Even in we're in the early stage now. I mean, it's phenomenal how fast even AI has moved. And so many people are into ChatGPT, for example. Now so many people are doing Claude, or they're doing Gemini. They're doing so many other platforms out there now than
yeah,
just ChatGPT, for example.
yeah,
It's extraordinary. And the Go High Level platform, I was just doing a training today with Nick Cree. I use his Go High Level platform, which is iConnection, for example, and he
yeah.
was showing all the AI tools that are in the Go High Level platform and within all these different CRMs. It's just extraordinary now,
It is.
what you do. It is absolutely extraordinary.
It
And
is,
so
but it's also just effectively it's a tool, and you can
yes.
you can get swept up in it and this is magic, this is fantastic, but it is a tool, and people like Nick who have business nous behind it and then use that tool to advance people's businesses, to shift people's businesses forward by the use of the tools that are now available. That's where the golden nuggets lie. A lot of people are out there are fearful of AI. If it's going to take my job, and that's I get that. I can see how people will be fearful, but the reality is that it's only going to take your job if you don't learn how to use it. And if you learn how to do your job better and 10 times faster and more efficient because you're using the tools correctly, because you've taken the time to learn them, then you become inexpendable rather than expendable.
Mm.
And
Yes,
and
totally.
yeah, so what Nick does with it is what sorry, no, you
Yes.
go.
Oh no, no, continue. I'll come back to my thought.
What Nick came in the other day and we had a bit of a conversation about our Go High Level. We use Go High Level as well, and the business side that he has from that, the business knowledge, the deep dive that he did
Mm.
was insightful. Firstly, for him to build a framework of what it might look like, but also for our guys. We had all our sales team in the room at the time, the sales teams from the various businesses, and the thoughts and ideas that were coming out of them weren't thoughts and ideas that they had considered before because the capability wasn't there for it. But now that the capability is there, it allows people to start thinking outside the box of what is traditionally possible to what could be possible for today, for tomorrow, for 5 years from now. And I think that's a key element that we're touching on here is the future of where this could go, of what we could do with our lives and our capabilities and our businesses off the back of the technologies that are now being developed is something which it behoves all of us to think about what that looks like for the future, how we can
Mm.
better service our clients, how we can better administer our accounts, how we can make sure things don't slip through the cracks, better timing, better communication, better all around business, better customer service, simply by having a system take care of some of the integrity things that used to be up to the individual. You'd have a customer that you haven't spoken to in a few months, and I better pick up the phone and give them a call. If that's in the background being done, and you get a reminder on your computer that pops up that you need to ring Bob Smith today because you haven't spoken to him for a little while, and you pick up the phone and you talk with Bob, yes, it's the tool that's given you that prompt, but you're still the person on the call. Now, Some businesses are going to AI voices and AI bots who are having conversation with customers. That's, in my thinking, personally, that's a little too far. You need to have that personal touch. All of my businesses, Advanced, Site Smart, Shifting Forward, they're all based on human interface, on human conversations, on a human being on the other end of the phone. If something goes wrong, you've got a human talking to you, and stuff gets resolved because it's a human doing it. It's not a number system, or you have to submit a form, or you talk to a person. And that in itself is a big thing in business today, because it's, with the more technology goes, the more that's going by the wayside, and we pride ourselves on keeping that human side alive. It's integral to customer service. It has to be.
So true. And notice your experience when you get a call from a bot, right? It happened the other day. I got a call from a, AI bot, asking all these questions and responding. I'm like, I'm talking to a friggin' bot. Like, I actually started to get quite annoyed with it. However, on the flip side, I called one of the local clubs to find out, what time their dinner bookings happened, or what time, simple questions, right? And now, in the past, when I've called this particular club, I've been put on hold sometimes for up to 5 minutes or so, to get through to someone to answer a simple question like, what time are they open for dinner? And in this particular case, they actually introduced AI answering into their system. So an AI bot hopped on in this case when I actually had a question to ask the club, and it answered it very, very quickly. So I was actually happy as a customer that I got a quick answer, even though I didn't speak to a human. I really didn't need to speak to a human in this particular case, because I just wanted a simple answer. And so I think there's definitely a place for AI. However, I totally agree with you. I love the human to human, heart to heart connection. That is something that bots will never have, is a heart. And interestingly, this Saturday in Brisbane, I'm speaking at something called the Premier Speaker event, the Premier Speaker event in Brisbane. It's happening in Brookwater this Saturday afternoon. And the topic is around creating change through vulnerability, right? Creating change through vulnerability.
Nice. I like that.
I love that topic. And so we've got 5 speakers, also the host, Kyle, he's going to be speaking as well. So 6 speakers, essentially, live music, connections, and an art gallery space where people have expressed their creativity as well. These human touches, I think, are also now even more valued in this AI world. Elon Musk is saying there's going to be 1 billion humanoid robots by 2040. Now, they're going to be doing things like washing our dishes, folding our clothes, and some of that, hey, that might be great to have them. I mean, we've got robots now that, vacuum robots that vacuum our whole houses, and you don't have to do, there's definitely a place for it, and it definitely will save us time if we use it well. However, in business, I think, now also what's happening now, we don't know who to trust in business. We have so many lies through, well, not just with politicians, with mainstream media. We have so many compromised people out there. We have desperate people out there who are ripping people off left, right, and center. Like, the scammers have gone through the roof, particularly through COVID, right? And so people don't know who to trust. And so when you do have that human to human connection, which is what I also love about going to in-person networking events like BX, and there's many others out there, actually going in person, connecting, whether there's 5 people there, 10 people or 20 people, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be a huge group of people. It's actually having those great quality connections and conversations that really help build trust, build that likability factor. And, essentially, to unlock the next you, it takes having trust in yourself and having trust in others. And I think that is something a lot of people have lost, is that trust. So what are some ways, Mitch, that you can see that people can build trust in themselves and build trust in others to unlock the next you? Because I don't think you can unlock the next you if you don't trust yourself.
No. 2 words: authenticity and integrity. Authenticity is being genuine, being who you are, and being unapologetic about it. We all have these masks that we put on in society. If you're addressing a crowd, you speak differently to how you would if you're speaking to a single person, or if you're speaking to your grandchild or whatever. So we have these masks that we put on, metaphorical masks, through our language, through the way we present our facial expressions, our everything, the whole. Let's call that the mask. And that mask is, if it's an authentic one, if it's genuinely you, if you know that's you, there's actors out there who I've seen in shows, and like Matthew McConaughey is one of them. And if you see him in a private interview situation, he's the same dude. He's the same guy that you're talking to in the interview that you see in the now, unless he's playing a villain or something, a role in a movie, he's obviously a bit different. But if you see him in various different places, he's always the same kind of guy. And that's authenticity. That's being true to yourself, and that's not bowing down to the way that you think people might want to hear you or see you. It's just genuinely being you. This is me. I'm putting myself out there to the world as this, and that's critically important in business. Also, obviously in relationships and in your private life. But like you say, when you found yourself talking to a bot on the phone the other day, that authenticity, if it's coming from you and you're putting yourself forward in a certain way, then people know that's you. And people, if they see you in a different format and they see you speaking differently or behaving differently, they know that's a fake version of you. You're putting that on for the environment you're in at that time, and that erodes away your authenticity. Integrity is the second one. Integrity is probably even more so important. Integrity is simply doing what you say you're going to do, showing up when you say you're going to show up. If you say you're going to do something, you follow through with it and you do it. Or if for whatever reason you can't do it, you then communicate why it didn't happen, and it will happen shortly after that. And that integrity is something that's, particularly in business, is also faltering these days. It's falling behind. I don't know how many times I've tried to get a hold of a tradie, or need a plumber to come out and do something, and you get onto Google and find 5, 6, 8 plumbers and put some requests in. Some of them, 1, 2, 3 of them might call you back. One of them says they're going to send you a quote. The quote never turns up. Nobody ever shows up, and you're back to square one, and you start ringing other ones again. So that integrity element provides a huge opportunity in that there's not a lot of it around. And I say this in generalist terms. There is integral businesses out there. Absolutely there is. But the vast majority, it seems, in recent times, there is less and less follow through and integrity with people doing what they say they're going to do. That provides a huge opportunity for those who actually do show integrity and who do show up. And if something goes wrong, they do get on the phone, they do sort it out with you. That makes you stand out and shine way above everyone else simply by showing integrity. So integrity and authenticity, I think, are the 2 words that I put to the question. I hope that answers the question you asked.
Yes, it reminds me of when I was at a conference in LA many years ago. It was a modern media conference, and I was on the panel, and I was asked, what's the future of media and marketing? And I said authenticity. I said authenticity is the new currency, right? That was way back. That was about 10 years ago or so, when we were launching a book called Think Big, actually in LA back then, with Sydney O'Sullivan. And yes, authenticity is huge. And integrity, I've done a lot of work with Landmark Education. And one of the foundational things with Landmark is integrity. And they always say, do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, or clean up as soon as you know you're not going to be able to do it by the time you say you're going to do it. Then get on the phone, communicate with that person. There's nothing worse than, when you show up for a meeting and the person you're meeting hasn't shown up, or they haven't communicated. At least if they've communicated that they're going to be late or whatever. And I know, time management hasn't been my strongest point, and it's a work in progress. Although, none of us are
there.
Sorry, what's that?
I said, you're not alone there. We're all in that boat.
Yes. And I think, I often, lose track of time. I get in such flow with what I'm doing. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, if I don't actually actively watch the clock, I can lose track of time. And it's interesting because time is a man-made concept. When we're operating from the heart space, and this is, from our heart space chakra. I've done a lot of energetic work, and it is scientifically proven that we have these energy centers. And when we operate from the heart space, when we're doing what we love, time and space disappear, which is very interesting. Right? However, in this construct of this world that we're in now, we have something called time, and, being in integrity with your time is really important. And I've been really working on this. I've been sharpening the saw on this, and I turned up to two BX meetings last week early, and people were in shock. And I felt really good about it. I was like, wow, that's so cool. I focused on the time and I got there early, and it was a lot more of a relaxed feeling. And so I've really looked for myself, because I've done so much personal development. I've really looked for myself, well, why is it that I've had this habit of, running late, or, and what I realized is that I've had this addiction to adrenaline. I've had this, from years of working in the media, from years of being an elite athlete, I was a top table tennis player as a kid, this constant sort of like this rushing thing that's happened. It's almost like I haven't known myself unless I've been in a high state of anxiety or adrenaline. It's really
Right.
bizarre. And so lately what I've been doing is I've been meditating a lot more. I've been making time to go to the beach and ground myself and hang out with my chickens and my cats and my, and just get into nature and, really do things that light me up, eat healthier food, honor myself, nurture myself in multiple ways. And all of it has helped. All of it has helped. And there'll be times, I'm sure, that, I still run late in future for whatever reason. However, I think if we can keep working on that for ourselves, on being in integrity and noticing what we give our word to, and because this is another thing I've often thought to myself, oh yeah, I can get that done by that date, and I'll just think I'm like Wonder Woman, and I'll get that
Yeah.
done in 5 minutes, which really I should have allowed an hour, and just noticing
And you're
how long.
thinking, what was I thinking? There's no way I can do that by then.
Yeah, and actually just being more realistic about what we actually give our word to, and actually learning to say no has been a big one for me too, because
Yeah.
I've been such a people pleaser. I've been so much just, wanting to help people, etc. And it's been at the expense of myself so much. And the clearer I am with where I want to go and what my main priorities are, the easier it is to say no to other people's priorities, right?
Yeah.
And this is massive learning. So some of my thoughts around those two great words, authenticity and integrity, so
I think
important.
the saying no thing that you were talking about before, that can get easier if you, and I know this sounds hokey, but rehearse it. Rehearse different ways of saying no. If you're invited to a function or something and you really don't want to go, you get awkward on the phone and go, yeah, okay, I'll go, because you just didn't know how to say, that sounds wonderful. I'm sure it'll be a great event. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it, but I'm sure you'll have a fantastic time. I look forward to hearing all about it. And
Yes.
that's a no, but it's a no that
That's
sounds like a yes.
Yes, exactly. And this is where people burn out often. They burn
Yeah.
out because they're putting everyone else ahead of themselves, and particularly those that are parents out there, and I'm actually not a parent. I have my animals, which I'm a parent to, and they're very low maintenance. So I'm quite
Yeah.
happy having my 6 chickens and my 2 cats, and we've got a dog at the house here. Anyway, I love my animals, right? And that gives me a lot of joy. But it wasn't my journey, obviously, to have children in this lifetime. Unfortunately, it didn't happen for me, or maybe fortunately, it didn't happen. And here we are, and I've been kind of married to my work in many ways, and I have 2 aging parents that I care for as well that are very, very fragile. And I think, when that happens, when you have people in your life that you love that are very fragile, and they're on the verge of, we never know how long, we'll never know how long any of us are going to be here, actually. But when you have aging parents who you've been very close to for years, as I have with my parents, that's been really challenging emotionally. And being able to juggle all those things, the business and the lifestyle, and the ones you love, and all of that, your friends that want time with you, all of that. So what do you do, Mitch, when you look at your life? We're talking about shifting forward here. Look at your life. You look at the wheel of life. You look at all the different areas of your life. So I have one here. Every year I actually do a one pager where I put my goals for the year, and the different topics I've got in my wheel of life. I've got career, family, health, exercise, spiritual, study, contribution, relationships, adventure, and finances. They're all my areas, and other people have different areas. But I love to look at that and remind myself, to have a balanced life as much as possible, and to consider all those areas. And sometimes we're putting more time into family, for example, we might put less time into our business. So the wheel is never going to be exactly round, with giving yourself a rating out of 10 for those that have done the wheel of life. When I say round, rate yourself in all those areas and have some goals in all those areas. So what does that look like for you, Mitch? How do you stay balanced as much as possible?
I try and keep myself more insular than balanced, because balance is something that's fluid and fleeting. It's never something, as you say, the wheel is never round. There's always something that's weighing on you more than something else is. But I try and deal with things as they come up, issues that need to be dealt with. I deal with them as they come up, and I try and keep them in their own little compartment as the stuff that happens in life. The stuff that I want to do in life are things that I make space for where I can. My life is fairly busy, as you might imagine, with the businesses. And my wife's life is equally busy, if not more so. We're often, in fact, most nights, if not every night, we're sitting on the couch. She's on her laptop, I'm on my laptop. We've got, a show playing on Netflix on the TV, and we have a cup of tea and we have dinner together. So we're spending our evenings together, having close together time, but we're actually separated. She's in her emails, she's dealing with clients, she's getting artwork approvals off. Helen runs SiteSmart Australia, so she's the GM for SiteSmart Australia, and she is, and she would hate me saying this, but she is a workaholic. She doesn't separate herself from that business. She's continuously on it, and whilst I admire that, it also takes away from who she is. So there's a definite imbalance in there, and I'm certain that I'm the same, because I get tied up in projects. While I was writing the Maven method for the past couple of years, it's been a big drain on my thoughts. And if I'm engaged in, we males have this linear possibility of thinking, this linear capability of doing only one thing at one time. And whilst I'm writing, or whilst I'm creating something, it takes my mind out of other things. So I try and compartmentalize as best I can. And by compartmentalize, I mean digitize my time. So for the next 40 minutes, I'm just on this project. I won't be looking at emails. I won't be doing anything with Outlook. I won't be doing anything with anything else other than this piece for the next 40 minutes. And that 40 minutes becomes sacrosanct to me. I lock everything else out and I just get that done. The breadth of the things that I am doing and that I want to do, which include speaking, music. There's a Shifting Forward event that's going to be coming up in September or October. We haven't actually set a date for it yet, but putting that together, networking events. I'm a team leader at BX as well, at Coomera, and running those. And I like to run those as best as I can, and give the best experience to our guests and our members who come along to that. All of that takes time, and it takes elements of your life, of your bandwidth, if you like, of what you're capable of doing. With Advanced, I'm there almost 24/7. And I'm not saying I'm physically here, but my mind has always got something ticking over. I'll see a news story on something, and that could become an angle for a story for something for environmental services, or there's something that's popped up, and it could be a fantastic lead-in for landscaping or commercial cleaning, whatever it might be. When I see those things, I try and capture them, and our mobile phones are our kind of receptacle of all things, ideas that I have, and I've got thousands of notes in there of things that have just been a fleeting moment that I've captured, and I'm going to do something with that. And then I need to set aside digitized time to do something with that, whether it's a life goal, whether it's a work thing, whether it's a personal thing. I've got a fairly significant birthday coming up, and there's a party going on for that, and my wife and others are putting this party together, and I had planned to play with a band at that party. So I was rehearsing up some songs and had a rehearsal with them, and then I had a bit of a run-in with a circular saw last week, and that's my left index finger, which is integral to squeezing a chord on the guitar. So now I can't play the guitar, or I probably won't be able to play the guitar at the party. So I'm now rearranging my thoughts around that, what I can do, changing the songs so I can just sing and play harmonica instead of playing the guitar. And that's the reason I say that, is it's an element that's come up that was unexpected. Like you were saying before, things change in life. You have to be able to pivot, and when things pop up, you got to change, and that's a change I had to make. So I had to rethink how I was going to do that. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. And as much as that must be painful for you, if you were to believe that everything happens for you, not to you, it's interesting how you have reframed, how you're now going to look at this situation. Because you could have just said, oh, well, I've hurt my finger, I'm not going to go now. But no, you're not saying I'm going to go. You're actually saying, okay, I'm going to look at how can we do this differently.
And what that means is now I'll sing a few songs and that'll give me more time with the guests at the party, and I'll probably enjoy the party a whole lot better because I'm not concentrating on playing guitar.
There you go. See, lovely, positive way to look at it. I love that.
Yeah.
And now it's interesting. I was thinking of you and your wife, Helen, sitting next to each other. I actually had this visual of you both on your laptops, with you've got the TV, all these screens distracting you from being together, from being, well, you are together, as you say, you're connected, but you're disconnected. And this is a real issue now. And I've noticed with myself as well, how addicted I have become to social media. It's insane. I have to pull myself away from the bloody device because literally I notice, I think, oh my gosh, where'd the last hour just go? I've just been scrolling on social media and been commenting and, and it's a void. It's seriously a void. Now we can be consumers of social media or we can be creators. Sometimes we're creators and consumers, but just notice, are you creating more than you're consuming or are you consuming more than you're creating? Now, lately I've been on the Brumby Trail, right? The New South Wales government is shooting all these beautiful horses, gentle horses that are not feral pests, okay? But the government's saying they're feral pests and they're shooting them from helicopters up to 15 times per horse. So I'm on this crusade at the moment to get the truth out about what's really going on with the Brumbies. So that has been taking a lot of my time lately. There's a rally on the Gold Coast on Saturday. I'm going to be going to the rally. I'm going to be crusading for the animals. And that's one of the things very dear to my heart is I hate animal cruelty. It's one of my bugbears. And if I see animal cruelty out there, particularly at the hands of government, as we're seeing right now, and in fact, there's been more deaths than anything else by democide. Look it up. Government death, democide has killed more people on the planet than anything else in history. Very, very interesting. Death by government.
Wow.
And government, the word government actually means mind control. Okay, so we've got a lot of people that are living in this slumber and social media is not helping. It's very distracting, right? Very distracting from actually what's real, from actually tapping into your intuition. And people have got all sorts of social anxiety that's happening now. They don't know how to communicate with each other. They feel disempowered. They're living in fear, which is why we put the book Fear to Freedom out last year, right? People living in fear. How can you move from fear to freedom? And for me, it's been about taking action. When I've seen something out there in the community that I'm not happy with, you talk about legacy here, I see something I'm not happy with, I have to speak up about it. And so it's actually just getting conscious to noticing where we're putting our time and energy. Now, as I see you and your wife, Helen, next to each other on your devices, I thought of the 5 love languages, right? For those who know the 5 love languages, we've got quality time, physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation, and receiving gifts. These are 5 love languages that stemmed from a book about the 5 love languages that a lot of people have. So sometimes, it's interesting, you're both there and it may look like you're having time together, but it's not quality time. Okay. So if one of you have a thing that you want quality time with the other person, well, if you're both on your devices, you're not having quality time. And I am blown away. I see people at restaurants on their devices. They're at a restaurant, they're out to have a date or to hang out with a family, and everyone's on their bloody devices. People on public transport, all on their devices. It's like they are glued to their screen. And what this is also creating is this hunchback situation. People are getting what they call tech neck. It's called tech neck, TECH, right? And people are like, they're sort of getting this situation going. So this is where, breathing properly, getting out in nature, getting some sunshine. Oh my gosh, it makes the world of difference when you actually step away from your device.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah.
And actually connect with other people, connect with nature, connect with what a beautiful world it is, rather than getting sucked into the vortex of social media and all the fear mongering that happens around social media. And at the same time, if you want to get your message to the masses, you got to go where the masses are, and the masses are on social media. So it's one of these things that, you may not like it or you may like it one way or another. It's not going anywhere. We now have 5.8 billion of the world's population active social media users. It's insane, right? The way that this whole world is going. So, however, it's a matter of disciplining yourself. And some people just say, okay, I'm just going to do 10 minutes a day on social media, and they set a timer, and that's all they do, right?
Yeah.
How do you manage the vortex of social media, Mitch?
I'm actually it's part of what I do for Advanced. I'm obviously the CMO for Advanced, so a lot of our stuff, we have company pages, LinkedIn company pages for landscaping, for cleaning, for temporary fencing, environmental services, for shifting forward, for SiteSmart Australia. So I'm constantly on, not constantly on, I am regularly on social media, and I'm commenting and interacting, particularly on LinkedIn, because it's really the place to have conversations from a business perspective. And that's part of my remit as CMO, is I need to be communicating on behalf of the company with the people who follow us and who comment on our posts, and that you need to respond to that. So as part of my work, I am on social media. So I try to, if I'm able to, when I'm not at work, whether that's work for SiteSmart, whether that's work for the Advanced Group, or whether it's shifting forward, I try to not be on social media. But if I am on social media, then I'm generally doing something to share something of use, or to post something of use, to record something, to put something out there of value to the people who are going to be seeing it. So the doom scrolling thing that people do, where you're just sitting there and you're just mindlessly flipping through the Instagram reels for hours on end, I think that's where the real danger is, the risk is. And I find myself doing that from time to time, but I'll try and stop myself as soon as I find myself doing it. I've identified it, and I've got a little trigger in my mind that when I do start doing that, I stop myself from doing it, and I'll immediately go to either put my phone down or a different platform. The dichotomy of having to use it and trying to not use it at the same time is probably highlighted most in a song I wrote a few years ago called "Forget the Phone." And that's, if you look it up on YouTube, there's a video clip on there. And the irony is that for people to see that clip or to hear that song, they're going to be hearing it and seeing it on their mobile phone. And the song, "Forget the Phone." It's it was recorded a few years ago. I did a music management course, and myself and Ray Lee, one of the people I was doing the course with, she did the backing vocals on it, and recorded a video and just put it out there on social media. And of course, the irony struck me afterwards that, hang on a sec, I'm writing a song about put your phone down and engage with the person that you're with. You know, that couple we're talking about in the restaurant, where both of them are on their phones with the light loom of their phone glowing up their faces, and they've got a candlelit dinner in front of them, and they're not talking to each other because they're both in different parts of the world. That's the tragedy side. Yeah.
Yes.
I think what my wife and I do is more as a matter of necessity, because we've got more things to do than we can fit in a work day. Our work day is bigger than the time we physically have within our work day. So we both just end up doing that. But the flip side is that we are together, and there'll be something that'll happen on the TV show, and I'll grab her hand, or we'll look at each other, we'll have a kiss or something, or we have a cup of tea and whatever. So it's not as quality time as it could be.
Yes.
But it is quality time enough because we're together. I'm not out at the pub with my mates watching the football game, and she's at home doing the vacuuming. It's not. It's togetherness without entirety of togetherness, if you like. I know that sounds like I'm waxing philosophical here, but it's the way we are doing life, and it's the way we need to do life at the moment, simply because of our entrepreneurial situations that we're in.
I get it. And I'm sure there's things you bounce off each other at times, or you'll show each other things as you're on your devices, and you'll discuss what's going on. And, it's a very, very common thing. And I think, with as an entrepreneur, there is always going to be more you can do as an entrepreneur. And the thing with social media, your clients will contact you, or potential leads will contact you on social media. So you need to be checking your Messenger. You need to be checking your WhatsApp, your LinkedIn. Like, so many ways people can communicate. It's not just you get an email lead anymore, or a phone lead. Like, you need to be checking all these multiple channels in the ways that people communicate. Otherwise, you just miss out on business, or you miss out on opportunities. Yeah. So there's that as well, right? So it is quite a dance, and noticing, just getting conscious to how much time do you spend on your device, and is it really necessary to be spending all that time, or are you wasting time? And see, I do marketing, of course, right? So I justify, I'm doing marketing, and of course, people say, But yeah, people say, "Oh, Aldwyn, I see you everywhere." I go, "Fantastic! That means the marketing's working, right?" So it is about being top of mind, about being front of mind. That people think about a media expert, they think about me, or they think about
Yeah,
someone who's crusading a great cause. They think about
yeah,
me, and they come to me to help share the message. And I'm very
yeah,
grateful that we're using this technology now. StreamYard wasn't around, 10 years ago or so. StreamYard's been a great platform that I've used to live stream my shows out to the world, which was never around before. So the technology used effectively, I think, can be amazing to increase your impact in the world. It's all about the
yeah.
perspective and how you look at things. So in saying that, I'm very curious about your Maven method. Could you share about that, please?
Sure. So the Maven method is a method I developed. I didn't actually develop it. I started just doing it, and then one day realized that I was doing this, and there was a pattern to which I was doing it. So I thought I'd capture that in a few notes, and those notes then became bigger, and then it became a book because it was something that worked, that was useful, that I thought other people could use as well. So I wrote the book, The Maven Method. Um, and the Maven method is essentially, do you know what a Maven is? The word Maven? What a Maven?
It's actually like a crow, isn't it? There's the mavens and the crows. A maven is like
No,
a big black.
that's a
Oh, that's a
raven.
oh, that's
A
a raven.
raven,
A
yeah. A
maven is like an
Maven,
expert, isn't
Maven
it?
is a wise person. It's
Ah,
a
okay,
sage, if
yes.
you like. It's the old
Sage.
man at the top of the mountain with the long white beard and the all-knowing, all knowledge kind of thing. So that's what the word the Maven is. But I use the Maven
Yes.
in the reference to the book as an acronym. And the Maven method stands for meditation, affirmation, visualization. And that's the MAV trilogy. Those three are the internal work that you do. And then the E and the N is education and navigation. So in shifting forward, if you want to do something with your life, if you want to shift from somewhere to somewhere else, the Maven method is a good way of doing that. So it's essentially the meditation is, if you imagine throwing seeds on concrete, they're probably not going to take. But if you put them onto hard ground, one or two of them might take, but they're probably not going to do too well. Whereas if you plow the ground first and it's loose and it's got air in amongst it, you throw the seeds into that, most of the seeds are going to take. So I think of meditation as opening up your mind, as plowing your mind, getting your headspace into the right space to be able to receive the ideas that are coming next. Affirmations are the words that we use, the language that we use. And affirmations generally are people think of affirmations as I am rich, I am wealthy, I am. The affirmations that I use are more subliminal. They're longer phrases, and they're things that actually affect the way we think and shift our mindset towards what it is we want to achieve. And the visualizations are the movies that you play in your head. So our mind has a capability of playing stories within our head that we can then that become memories down the track. Even and I use the word memories because they become memories even though if they haven't happened. If you've imagined them and you've imagined them in enough detail, what was happening at the time? What were you wearing? What were the other people wearing? What did it smell like? Was it overcast? Was it a sunny day? Were you inside? Were you outside? Give detail to it and go down to the extreme of detail and see it like a movie in your mind. Eventually, and it doesn't take that long, but eventually your mind stops seeing that as an imagination and it sees it as a memory, as if you've already done it or as if you're already doing it. So those three, the MAV trilogy, that's where the internal work happens. And the education and the navigation, which is the EN of Maven. Education is if you're wanting to do something with your life, you're wanting to change what you're doing, you want to learn something new, you want to do something different, you're an employee, you want to start a business. There's a number of things that you need to learn to do that effectively. And that education path, you need to work that out, what that's going to be. What things do I need to do? What things do I need to learn? And there may not be that much. In fact, there generally isn't. When people have a goal, they think this is a huge amount of stuff that they have to do, when in actual fact, no, you just have to learn these three elements. And if you've got a pretty good idea how to do that, you'll pick up the rest as you go along. Just start and do it, and then you'll learn the rest as you go. That's education. And then navigation is simply having a map. Navigation is, I am here, do a stock take. I'm married with 2.5 kids and a white picket fence. I live in Ipswich. I have this amount of wage that comes in. My wife has this amount of wage that comes in. I have this amount of free time in my life. Take a full stock take of your life as it currently is, and then project that onto what you would want your life to be, what that would look like, get as best idea of what you can of what that would look like, and plot a navigation path of how to go from that to that.
Wow. I love that. And it's so interesting when you said, what does a maven mean? And I went straight to Raven. And I just had a picture that came in my head of when I was interviewing Tippi Hedren in LA many years ago. Tippi Hedren was the lady that was in the Alfred Hitchcock movie, The Birds, if you remember.
Oh.
And she was being attacked by a whole lot of crows. Well, what I thought were crows, right? I thought they were crows because in Australia we call them crows, the big black birds. And she corrected me when I was asking her, what was it like being attacked by all the crows? And she said, no, they're ravens. They're ravens. And it's interesting, that thought just came to my mind. And I actually have hosted a show called Media Mavens Show with a girl from Germany. And of course, I know what mavens mean. For some reason, my mind went to raven. And isn't it interesting the way the world works and our minds work sometimes? It's the neurons that fire together wire together, right? And we all stuff up.
Very, very powerful. What the mind can do. I think most people underestimate what their capability is, what they're able to do just by putting their mind to it. And putting your mind to it is something that my mum used to say to me when I was at school doing homework. You can do it if you put your mind to it. That's great. But she actually had something. It is about putting your mind to it. It's really putting some constructive thought around something that you want to do or something you want to achieve. You can do most things. I mean, there's people out there in the world that have achieved fantastic things, and I mentioned them in the book. There's like James Cameron, for example, when he did Avatar. He started putting Avatar together immediately after he filmed Titanic. Now, the movie didn't come out for another 11 years after that. And it's not that it took him 11 years to write it. It took 11 years for the technologies to catch up to be able to portray what he wanted to portray in Avatar. The underwater scenes and the fantastic stuff, the computer-generated imagery in that wasn't possible when he first wrote it. So it took 11 years for that to come about. I mentioned Gandhi in the book. Gandhi turned around the Indian continent, which was under British rule, and he united the people, and it ended up becoming back to India simply by the thought that he had in his head and his conviction and his integrity and his authenticity and the way he went about it. It's in the book. The way he went about it, what ultimately came out to be something that was almost superhuman in terms of achievement. And there's many examples out there of people who have achieved these fantastic things. I mean, look at Elon Musk. The richest man in the world. He's just clicked over $1 trillion, first person to reach $1 trillion. He's a single person with a brain, with a single mind, just like me, just like you, just like everyone else watching this podcast and everyone else out there in the world. He's a person with a mind. And he's done a few things. He's thought about a few things. He's done things differently, sometimes unconventionally. Like him or hate him, he's got nous. He's figured out the way of doing certain things that have resulted in being the world's first trillionaire. But he's just a person, just like you and me. So the Maven method is essentially about that. It's about using your mind and having a formulated system by which you can use your mind to achieve pretty much anything you want to achieve.
And yeah, I love that. And I think, acknowledging ourselves also for how far we've come, because when we use the word expert, as they say, Maven means expert or connoisseur. So people think, oh no, I'm not an expert in that yet. A lot of people think this and they stop themselves, right? And I often say, if you know 10% more than someone else, you can teach it, right? You're never going to know everything about your topic. I've been in the media 42 years. I definitely don't know everything about the media, right? It's a constant work in progress. And I think being gentle with yourself and acknowledging yourself for how far you've come, I think is really, really important, on our journey to being the next you, right? The next you, what does that look like for you, that being the next you? What was the last you like? What's happened in the past that you can acknowledge yourself for, and what do you want to change now for the future? Now, we've just had the winter solstice, so that was the in here in Australia. The winter solstice just happened on Sunday, just a few days ago, and that was where we had the longest day of darkness, or the darkest, the least light in a day for the next 6 months or so. And so this is now a great time to reflect, and to as the light comes back into each day, a little bit more light comes back into each day, depending on where the sun is, etc. It's time to really look at, okay, what is it that sparks your imagination and your inspiration? What is it within you? What sort of light do you want to bring into the next you that is evolving? Because whether you like it or not, you're either evolving or dissolving, right? You're either, as we said at the beginning, you're green and growing, or you're ripe and rotting. So where are you right now, and what do you want to shift? And just those micro shifts every day, that 1% every day, just making some little shifts can make the world of difference to you becoming the next you, or unlocking the next you. So what would you say, Mitch, for those that are very hard on themselves out there? And I know I have been in the past. I have been very hard on myself as a high achiever. I know that it's been a big learning for me to acknowledge myself for how far I've come. So what do you say to those who are similar?
Can you rephrase that question for me?
So for those who are really hard on themselves, for those who often beat themselves up about, maybe, how much there is still left to do in their life or in their weeks or whatever, and not acknowledge themselves for how far they've come, what do you say to those people who might have a little bit of this negative talk going on in their mind of, of what a failure they feel they've been because they haven't achieved, whatever they wanted to achieve, like just being hard on themselves? What do you say to people who are hard on themselves, and who maybe don't know what this next them is going to look like, because there's so much beating up on the last them that they seeing potential?
I see what you're saying, and there's nuance to that as well. It's a funny thing, when we are in the situation that we're in, it's easy not to be able to see outside the forest. If you're in a situation now, that there's genuine situations of hardship that people are in, whether it's financial hardship, or it might be domestic violence, or there's a number of things that people get trapped in, that the only way out of that is to seek help elsewhere. You need to talk to some professional people. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm not medically trained. I'm not qualified to give advice on anything around getting out of a hardship situation in your life, whatever that might be. But for the people who are just in a situation where they want to do something, but they just haven't done it, or they can't see how they're going to do it, my immediate suggestion is start. Learn something, look at something, start watching YouTube videos, open up some knowledge on what it is you want to do and where you want to go, what you want to make out of your life, and just start. Because the knowledge comes from action. It doesn't come from thinking. You can sit on your couch and think about it all day long, and nothing's going to come from it. You need to move forward and make a start on something, some kind of learning, some kind of engagement. Read books, all the stuff that people normally say. And in terms of being hard on yourself, the easiest thing to do is to have a pity party and look at the stuff that's happened in your life in the past and go, well, of course that happened. That was me. That's always going to happen. And then the words and the language that you use start to perpetuate or continue to bring the same stuff that you've had before. If you always do what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always got. So that the way to get past that little pity party is to have a bit of navel gazing, if you like. And I find the best way to do navel gazing, and this isn't easy when you start doing it, but it's to use your bathroom mirror. When you get up in the morning and you look yourself in the eye, don't just glance at yourself and then go about brushing your teeth and doing whatever it is you're doing. Actually look yourself in the eye and have a mental conversation with you. If there's no one else around, you can even have a vocal conversation with yourself about where it is you want to go and what you want to do. And that's one of the strongest forms of affirmations you can have, is if you're saying it to yourself in the mirror and you can hear yourself and see yourself saying it, it's a very, very powerful thing. And it feels hokey to start with. It'll feel corny. It'll feel plastic. This is never going to work. But then in thinking that and saying that, you're telling yourself it's not going to work. So you have to start using positive language. You have to start speaking in the words that you want to use. Michael McDade is an expert at this. He's one of the guys who's going to be in the event with us in the Shipping Forward event in September or October, and he speaks on company culture. And one of the presentations that he does is on the language that we use. And one of the examples out of there is, if you imagine a parent and a child's learning how to ride the bike, and they hold them upright and they give them a bit of a shove, and they say, "Don't fall off." Their mind hears "fall off," and they fall off. The mind can't process the word "don't." So another example is he gets a phone call from his wife, and she says, "Don't forget the milk." And sure enough, he forgets the milk. And he's asked her, would she do him a favor and just phrase that as "remember to get the milk." And just by that simple wording change, he remembers to get the milk. So words that we use in affirmations in our mind are really, really powerful. So I implore you, and I'm talking to you, the guests here, that you were just referring to in your question, Aldwyn. Beware of the words that you use when you're speaking to yourself, because you speak to yourself more than you speak to anyone else on this planet. And if you use negative language, or if you use language that is likely to build fault within what you're doing before you've even done it, you're affirming negativity rather than towards yourself, to what you want to shift towards.
Yes, I love that. And I've just gone to my business blueprint. I'm part of the business blueprint community with Dal Beaumont. And we have these 90-day action plans, which we put on these little cards here, our 5 top goals for the next 90 days. And we also have a section here, it's 5 years from now. And this I think was modeled on a card that Roy McDonald had, who I think might have modeled Bob Proctor. And often what Roy McDonald had on his cards from One Life, he had, "I am so happy and grateful now that," and then actually picturing yourself in that situation. "I am so happy and grateful now that I am speaking on massive stages around the world. I'm impacting millions through my positive media messages," whatever that is, right? So actually see yourself there, feel yourself there. I watched the Michael movie the other day about Michael Jackson. And Michael Jackson, when he broke away from Jackson 5, how he said, "I see it, I feel it, I can see I'm going to be on these huge stages. He saw it well before it actually happened. And look what a legend he was, right? Absolute legend. And there's actually a very special event happening, the Heal Your World event happening at 7:26 a.m. tomorrow, which was the anniversary of Michael's death, around the world, actually, with the intention that Michael set around healing your world. And it's happening down here at Kurrawa Beach at 7:26 a.m. So I actually shared about it on my socials, so you can have a look at my Facebook about that. But people around the world be putting out this, heal the world message, and setting their intentions for what they want, which is absolutely beautiful. A lady called Natalie here on the Gold Coast is organising it, from Birds of Formation. And I love that, the legacy that Michael Jackson has left. And it's because he saw it, he felt it, he made it happen. And sure, he was a genius in his own way too. Michael's mother said, "I knew he was different from when he was born." So I think there's some star seeds, as they call. There's some, and we are, we're 99.9% energy, frequency, vibration. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, and some of us shine brighter than others. And why is that, do you think, Mitch? Why is it some people shine brighter than others?
Personally, I think that some people allow themselves to shine brighter than others, and some people allow themselves to dim into the background because they don't want to stand out. They want to be part of it. And a lot of that comes from teenage years, from school. You don't want to stand out. You want to fit in. You don't want to stand out. But in order for you to shine brightly, you do need to stand out. You have to. I was in a situation the other day where I had a referral from someone on a business networking. It was actually a PX event, and I tried to ring the person and I couldn't get a hold of them. And I tried someone else and asked them to ring them, and they rang and they couldn't get a hold of them. And when I did finally chat with them some time later, they said, oh, I didn't recognize the number. I don't answer numbers that I don't recognize. And I thought, well, you're in business and you want to attract customers. There's going to be the vast majority of the people are going to want to talk to you. If your marketing's working well, are numbers that you don't recognize. You have to answer your phone. And she said, well, did you leave voicemail? Because I'll get back to voicemail. Oh, no, I didn't. And again, most people won't do that. So in her way, she was protecting herself. She was shielding herself from what the outside world might do or be. But in reality, she's dimming her candle. She's shying away from what could be big, what could be her next you. If you want to achieve your next you, if you want to step forward into being something different, you have to shine. And you have to shine in whatever way you can shine, whatever your specialty is, whether it's music, whether it's business, whether it's achieving something, whether it's helping somebody else to achieve something, whatever it might be, you have to shine. It's really the only choice, the only option, because there's only one you on this entire planet. There's only ever going to be one you, and you should live that you as deeply and as fully as you can, because newsflash, this isn't a dress rehearsal. We all only get one shot of this. Shine.
Yes, I love that. And one thing that has really helped me shine is coming from a loving space, getting out of my head and into my heart. And you have to toughen yourself to criticism. If you're going to put yourself out there, you have to toughen yourself to criticism, because, particularly in Australia, it's all about rise to the middle, right? As you say, you stick your head out and people try and knock you down and put you down. And we do have a lot of trolls out there. We do have a lot of scammers out there. And I do get why some people don't answer their phones to numbers they don't know, because there are a lot of scammers and there's a lot of salespeople that will just pitch their thing. And it's important to be conscious of where you put your time, and to time block perhaps answering calls, or get an AI bot or an assistant to answer your calls and field them out. But also I do get too that if you will miss opportunities at times. There's times definitely, and particularly if you want to get media exposure, opportunities will come where journalists will call you from a private number. And if you don't answer the private number, you could miss great opportunities with media to get your message out there. And while there is a lot of propaganda media out there, mainstream fake news out there, there's also a lot of amazing media out there, a lot of truth media, a lot of people doing their best to actually, get the truth out about certain topics that are not just bombarded through the mainstream media and have other agendas at play. And this is the kind of media that I love. This is hats off to all our truth media out there. And, it's a very interesting world we live in right now, where people have got so much information coming their way, and they've got limited, capacity, I guess, to take it all on, or even to do their own research in certain matters. For example, like the Brumbies we're looking at right now. A lot of people just believe whatever they're told through the mainstream media. The Daily Telegraph came out with a different story the other day, and they said this is barbaric animal cruelty that's happening by government, and they got slammed by Media Watch. Media Watch is funded by the ABC. The ABC is the propaganda machine for the Australian government. They're funded by the Australian government, but a lot of people don't actually put two and two together and actually question what's going on. And don't take my word for it. Hey, don't believe me. You go out and do your own research. But how many people actually do go out and do their own research on things? It's an interesting world we live in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very interesting. So to shine bright, I believe, trust your intuition, because your intuition will tell you. Like, I knew when all the COVID bombardment came about, I was like, oh my gosh, here we go. I knew in my gut there was something off about the whole, and I call it the pandemic now, but there was something off about that. I knew from the very beginning. And if you want to know what's going on in the world, follow the money trail, my friends. Follow the money trail. What happened during COVID? Now, my intuition, I'm going to pull my love heart out again too, because the more inner work I've done, the more I've tapped into my intuition, which is actually, we're all connected on the grander scale of things. And I do have faith as well. I have a very strong faith. I do believe in God, and I do trust my intuition. And I believe what's happening right now in the world, there's a lot of evil, dark forces in the world. And I think from the beginning of time there have been till the end of time there will be. And there's also a lot of light forces. Okay. So for you to shine bright, it's about stepping into what is that for you? What is your truth telling you? What is your intuition telling you? If something feels off, it most likely is. However, for a lot of people, we have distanced ourselves from our emotions. We're thinking we're too much in the head. We're too much in our logic. And we have 60,000 thoughts a day, the average human being. And for most people, 98% of our thoughts are the same we had yesterday, and 80% are negative for most people. So if we do not learn to get out of our head and into our heart, there's no way we're going to unlock the next you. I believe, right? My dad always said to me, interesting, my dad was a very logical man. He's a civil engineer, and he always said, your brain, your mind will never deceive you, but your heart can deceive you. And so I was actually brought up with a very logical father. And actually, my mum was the opposite. She was very heart-based. And so, I've really learned a lot in my life to come more into my intuition, to trust myself, and the more self-love and self-care I have, the more I step out with confidence with my message. And this is the thing. Notice what stops you in life. Notice what stops you from living your true life, from living what does the next you look like. And I think of, Bob Proctor. There's a great video, and Bob Proctor, he died at 87. At 84, people ask Bob Proctor, what does it mean to live your purpose? What does that look like? What does living your purpose look like? And Bob Proctor said, do what you love every single day, as much as possible. Do what you love. So notice, my friends tuning in right now, what is it that you love to do? What is it that you love to speak about? What is it that moves you? What is it that makes you mad, sad, or glad that you can talk about, right? And because I do believe if you are not speaking up about something that you see in the world that you're not happy with, then I do believe you're being part of the problem. So what is it for you to unlock the next you? For a lot of people, it is about contribution, how you can make a difference to the world. So what does the next you look like, Mitch? I'm going to put it back on you as we're coming to wrap up this show. What does the next you look like?
The next me is going to be a refined version of the current me. It is going to be assisting more in the things that I can assist with. Now, and the reason I say that is, let me just backtrack a little bit there. The world as we see it, what is coming up, is going to be the same as what's been. And when I say that, yes, things will change, technologies will come along, things will improve, things will change. But if you look at the next 10 years, they're going to be mixed with difficulty and opportunity, about an even mix. There's going to be challenges that come along, there's going to be opportunities that come along, which is the same as the last 10 years. And it's going to be the same the next 10 years after that. So filtering out the negativity, the things that we see in the world, the Brumby cases, the political deceptions, and the things that happen, you need to filter those out of your thinking. You can ponder them, you can observe it, acknowledge it, but then put it aside and switch immediately to your positive thoughts, to what the next you looks like. Navigate your path, do some education so that you can get towards where you're going. But first of all, prepare your mind for it, which is getting in the right headspace to consider what the next you looks like.
Yes, I think it's very important to focus, having a positivity bias. And sometimes, we shine the light on the negative things or the dark things. But how do we turn that into a positive? And for me, it's taking action on something. But you got to be careful also not to go too far down the rabbit hole, because you can end up very depressed and angry and frustrated, and you can get very stuck if you go too far down into the darkness of what's going on in the world, right? So I think it's important to have some knowledge of what's going on. If you feel a prompting to do something, or to share a post, or to sign a petition, or whatever it is, if you feel a prompting to do that, I recommend do it. And for me, that's been a great way for me to actually move move through dark times is actually by sharing through the media. You know, for many years I've done this. From when I edited the university newspaper in Canberra, we used to do stories about, you know, anti-duck shooting. So I couldn't believe people were shooting ducks for fun. We did stories about the environment, about how we can be more conscious of our waste and our recycling and, you know, that kind of thing. Like whatever I saw in the mainstream media back then, this is going back 1992 to 1994 now, back when I did my media degree. Whatever I saw that I wasn't happy about in some way, I would write about it. I would report about it through the media. And now we have the great opportunity of social media where everyone can report about whatever it is that makes them mad, sad, or glad. And we can go out and impact change and make a positive difference by shedding some light on something without getting too far down the rabbit hole. Some people say, I don't watch the mainstream media at all because it's all so negative. And I've personally had depression. I've had 4 friends take their own lives by the age of 45. And this is why I started the Good News Day and the Global Good News Challenge. And every month we have this free challenge. People can share gratitude and good news for free. We share your videos to thousands of people. You know, this was how I impacted change in a positive way, coming from a negative background. So I do believe these experiences that we have through our life, I think there's signs in our life. There's signs about certain things that you've gone through in your life. I do believe it all happens for us, not to us. And, you know, notice what are the learnings and the gems and the things that we can share from our own experiences to help.
Absolutely. And as the great Jim Rohn once said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And that's such a small throwaway line, but there's so much wisdom in that. Is if you want to be better, you just need to learn to get better.
Yes, I love that. I'm going to pop that up on
It's never going to get easier. Everything's going to have challenges in it.
Yes, I love that. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Love, love, love that. And thank you to everyone who's joined us. Anita Marshall's with us. Hello, Anita. Says, learning to say no is a huge one for me too. Yes, Anita, I hear you. I hear you. And you're a beautiful person, a beautiful soul too. And I think if we don't listen to ourselves and we don't learn to say no, we will burn out. So I think that's very important. And Anita says here, integrity is so important in so many areas of our lives. Time is important too and shows respect to others, especially if you are meeting one person. Yes, so true. And then just communicating, you know, communicate with people if you're, you know, you're running late or you're, you know, or you're not going to make a meeting or not going to make a deadline or you're not going to do what you said you were going to do for whatever reason, just communicate and just set a new commitment around that.
And that communication in itself is integrity.
Yes, the communications integrity. And see, this show, Mitch, it's interesting. There's so many times we've been wanting to run this show and it just hasn't happened for whatever reason. But every time we've communicated and we're like, okay, let's just recommit. And we've got back and we've recommitted. And you'll be interviewing me for your show, which I can't wait for that as well. Corinda's here with us. Hey, Corinda. So how would you signal with your business with advanced group? How would you signal with your business? I'm not quite sure what that means. How would you signal? Does that make sense to you?
How would you signal?
Signal with your business. What? Signal what? Is he talking about the next?
Sorry, Corinda, I don't understand what that means.
Maybe I'm just guessing here, but maybe he's asking. So we're talking about unlocking the next you. So maybe he's saying, okay, what does that look like for the advanced group? Perhaps let's just answer that question.
Okay. The advanced group is going ahead in leaps and bounds at the moment. We've just moved into a brand new facility, which has been a long time coming. We bought the block back in 2017. We've built this phenomenal new facility, and we'll be having various events here. One of which is a speed networking event coming up in August. More news coming out on that. We're going to have Life Flight helicopters in here. Life Flight we sponsor Life Flight helicopters, and they have a program called First Minutes Matter. And First Minutes Matter is essentially, it's not a first aid course, but it's a course for people from any walk of life to learn the things that they can do to help people stay alive from the moment a tragic or a critical event happens. And the time that the Life Flight helicopter arrives, that might be 10 minutes, it might be 20 minutes, but during those minutes really matter. So it's triage healthcare, essentially. It's not a certified course. It is a course that's put on by Life Flight, and we'll be hosting those courses here for our clients. We have various clients within the civil contracting industry, construction industry, and we're going to be having events where we invite people in. Our clients, our customers will come in and do this training. It's a free training and learn how to solve or help out in those first few minutes. So that's a brief overview of what's coming with the advanced group. Keep your eyes peeled for this. There's lots of big stuff happening. There's events up in Brisbane that we're going to be supporting with road barriers and traffic control and temporary fencing, crowd control barriers. Commercial cleaning is going gangbusters at the moment. We're all over Australia. Things are getting big. SiteSmart Australia, as I said, is in its 20th year of business. It's going places. There's some talk of the USA at the moment. I'm not quite sure how that'll play out, but keep your eyes peeled on that. I hope that answers the question. There is so much big stuff happening in our future, but for me personally, I'm looking forward to taking a little bit of time for myself and my wife and putting our lives back together. We're off to Thailand next week. Going to spend a week in Phuket, just on the beach, hanging by the pool, sipping pina coladas and just defragging our mind for a bit. And there will not be laptops on our laps by the pool. I guarantee that.
Oh, I love it. Beautiful, beautiful. And the Gold Coast referral group, that's beautiful. Anita, again, I would say, is maybe doing this post, tuned in and watching. Hi, Anita, and whoever else is there from the referral group. They have their meetings on a Thursday morning in Broadbeach. Love your work. Miss you guys. And Anita says, I'm tuned into, very interesting. And thank you so much, Anita. And Gold Coast based for me. And Anita is a fantastic business broker. If you need a great business broker on the Gold Coast, actually, I've done pay it forward slips for Anita many times at the BX events. So great to have you here, Anita. Thank you so much. Corinda, hey, now Corinda has a fantastic podcast as well called Empowerment Extension, and I've been on Corinda's show too. So Corinda and Sarah from the UK. So great to have you here, Corinda. Thank you so much for everyone who's joined us here on the live stream. We are just about to wrap up. I'll share my quote today. This is one I absolutely. This is your quote. Pardon me. My quote I'm going to share in just a moment, which I do love your quote. Okay, we're just going through all my bits and pieces. Here we go.
Finding that, Aldwyn, I would also like to say thank you for having me on the show. It's been a fantastic conversation. As you said, it has been a long time coming. And yes. I'm pleased that we finally pulled it together, because we did touch on some really important stuff there, and I hope that your listeners get some value out of it.
We did, absolutely. Yeah, it's been great to have you on the show, Mitch. Such an interesting conversation. This is my quote for today. The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be, by Ralph Waldo Emerson.
Absolutely. Oh, that's deep.
Yes, the only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. It's all a choice. It's all a decision, and it starts with you. We're talking about, stop the procrastination. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Just start. 80% of anything you do is just starting. So if you're stuck in any area of your life, then just start, and it's amazing what momentum will build from that. Now, for people who want to connect with you, Mitch, where would they go? Where's the best place for them to connect, and how can they work with you?
Probably the best place is mitchbruger.com. That gives you an overview of who I am and what I do. And advancedns.com.au shows you everything about advanced. Sitesmart.com.au shows you everything about Sitesmart, and that's essentially me, is those three platforms. Shifting forward is on mitchbruger.com. And if you want to jump in touch from there, there's a little button down the bottom where you can contact me, and there's also a few free courses on there that you can partake in. A lot of it is paid courses, paid development elements, but the free stuff that's on there is readily available, and I encourage you to do that. I guess one example might be there's a LinkedIn profile mastery course on there. So if your LinkedIn profile looks a bit vanilla, jump into that, go through the steps, and it'll bring you up to speed with the way it should be.
Beautiful.
And that in turn will help you on your social, on your visibility, on becoming the next you.
Yeah, love it. Thank you so much. And for those on the audio on Spotify, Mitch Bruger, MITCH, Bruger, BRUGER.com is the website to find that and all those links. And of course, people can Google you. They'll find you all over the place as well there. Thank you so much, Mitch. And for those who want to connect with me, just hop along to linktr.ee/Aldwyn. That's got all my links, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. Now, in there, you'll find some tips on how to gain TV exposure in my website. You'll find also the link to the Global Good News Challenge, which is free every month. And in fact, this month for June, we celebrate our 6-year anniversary of the Global Good News Challenge. We started in June 2020. all the craziness and negativity of COVID, I decided to ramp up the good news and positivity, and we started the Global Good News Challenge. And I've done every single monthly challenge since then. We have a 6-day challenge for June. You can start anytime within June, and it's very simple. You just do a live video 6 days in a row on whatever social media platform you would like to share your name, what you do or like to do, 3 things you're grateful for, and a piece of good news. And all the details are linked to the Global Good News Challenge Facebook page. We share your video to thousands of people. It's free marketing. You'd be crazy not to do it. You will feel amazing when you do the Global Good News Challenge. Also there you will find a link to our Fear to Freedom book. This was our first book we put out last year. We launched it in Sydney and the Gold Coast, where we had 13 entrepreneurs sharing their Fear to Freedom stories and how they've overcome challenges and the wisdom that they've learned from that. We are now inviting some people to come into our next book, which we are doing, teaming up with Dame Rita Rose from Sydney for our next Fear to Freedom book. So if you are interested in sharing your Fear to Freedom story or leaving a legacy through sharing your story, a lot of those people never shared their story before. So if that's you, if you've never shared your story, it's a great way to leave a legacy and come into our next book. So let's have a conversation if you'd like to know more about that. And all my other social links are there. YouTube link, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, Media Queen. It's Aldwyn Altuney, Media Queen TV, and you'll see the YouTube channel, all the other links. So we'd love your support there. And thank you so much, everyone who's joined us live today on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Thank you. Really appreciate you. Thank you, Mitch, for being a guest today. It was a fantastic show. Any final from you, Mitch?
Sorry?
Any final words? Final words.
Final words is please start shifting forward. Find yourself what the next you is going to be. Have a think about it. Close your eyes in a dark room, ponder it, and then take action. Just start. And if you need assistance with any of it, as Aldwyn said, jump on my contact, get a hold of me. I'd be more than happy to help you. And if I can't help you, there's a whole bunch of people in Shifting Forward who are experts at what they do, and they can help you. Guaranteed. All you've got to do is make the decision to do it, to become the next you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Such a great show. Thank you so much, Mitch. Can't wait to be on your show as well very soon. So stay tuned, connect with us on socials, and we'll see you again on one of our shows, Media Queen TV or Shifting Forward with Mitch. Thank you so much, and can't wait to see your book when it comes out as well.
It's coming out soon.
Thank you so much. Such a great show.
Have a wonderful day.
Yes, have a great day, everyone. And you'll get the clap because it's a wrap. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Woo-hoo.
Bye.